Hi, I'm Linda Barrington, and I want to talk with you today about some design principles that will help you to make your layouts look better. These are the basic principles of design: balance, hierarchy or dominance, contrast, repetition, and alignment, both of which create unity and harmony. If you don't have a sense of balance with your designs, then the viewer's eye won't know where to look, and what you're trying to communicate may not get across. Balance doesn't mean that every element has to be distributed perfectly symmetrical. Balance can be achieved through asymmetry as well. The newspaper example on the left is symmetrical. The magazine table of contents on the right is asymmetrical. Balance is the placement of elements in a graphic design. Everything has a visual weight to it. If you have a dark color next to a lighter color, the dark element would naturally feel heavier in the design. It's human nature for people to like some kind of balance for the stability and structure it provides. Those principles of contrast and focal point can often be essentially the exact opposite of balance. So having balance doesn't mean you can't have a focal point, but you should be considering how you distribute the other elements in your design to try and maintain a visual balance. You can think of it like the seesaw you might have played on when you were young. You could have different weights on each side, but make it balanced by how the heavier person was positioned. Do you see the balance here? Remember the rule of thirds? Well, this applies to balance on the page. Even without an image, there is a dominant element here with the size of the pull quote and its emphasis between widely leaded gray text and red phrases. Notice how contrast in size creates dominance and direction. Usually, when we have a page in front of us, our eye moves over it in a kind of Z movement, moving from the top left to the right to the bottom left and the right. So you want to place your element in the right space depending upon its importance. With titles, headlines, and graphic elements, you can lead the viewer starting with the most important in the top left corner. Here are some more examples. Pause if you would like to talk about them with your classmates. Contrast is something people are drawn to, but it's one of those things that, when done correctly, shouldn't really be noticed. Done incorrectly, though, it'll stick out like a sore thumb. That's why it's so critical for you as the designer to pay close attention to the contrast in your designs. Contrast attracts the eye, adds visual interest to the composition, and can be in many forms. Your first thought may be color contrast, such as warm versus cool and dark versus light. While color is an extremely essential principle of contrast, there are also things like contrast of type, alignment, and size. These different principles all play a vital role in whether or not you have a successful design that's appealing and easy to follow. Your eyes are drawn to the big text. It feels natural. The big item is an example of dominance, which results from the contrast in sizes. Having a contrast of size also adds visual interest in the composition and will help you establish the key elements in your layout so you can be sure the viewer is focusing on the right area. The white background and black text of the words on the left is a basic example. Establishing the right contrast of colors can make or break your design. You don't want colors to conflict with each other in such a way that it's confusing and irritating to look at. Look at the top right image. Your eyes will probably start hurting after staring at it for even just a few seconds. On the other hand, the image on the bottom right shows a great level of contrast between the background and the text color, but it's pleasing to look at. The colors chosen were simply different shades of the top image, but these work so much better together. It's crucial to work with complementing colors that don't cause strain on the eyes. You also don't want to work with colors that are very similar to each other, like red and orange, for example. Here are a lot of good examples. You can pause if you want and even take notes. Both this example and the one before is taken from canva.com. Depending on how far you take this, you can create a very extreme level of contrast to attract more attention to an area. For example, if you have a layout like this where all of the elements are made up of rectangles, but right in the middle there's a circle or a different shape like this lamp, then the viewer's attention is going to go directly to the lamp because it's different from all the rest of the elements. Here's a good illustration of different kinds of contrast. And here's another example. And here. The image that's right in the center of this page has unity achieved by repeating images on the top and the bottom using the same blur technique on both type and images. But on the right, unity is achieved by repeating shapes and repeating colors. Here are more examples of unity or harmony. Pause as long as you'd like to take a closer look for each one. The next 30 slides are all set up like this, with the basic principles on the left and the question, what's good about this? This is an activity that you can do with your classmates or even by yourself. They're good for discussion. For each one, identify and discuss the basic design principles as they apply to that image. Remember that when you apply design principles and understand the basic rules, your work will look more professional, organized, unified, and interesting. Pause on each one of them to give yourself time to examine them. Here's where you can download this presentation so that you can have it to look at your leisure. I hope this has given you a lot of ideas. I know I've used this with my students and they've gotten some great ideas for what they can do with their own layouts. Thank you.